no finer value. Remember the name, it's ChinnyVision. Long-time viewers of this channel will know it's been a constant problem here that I've not been able to show Atari ST games too much because I don't have an Atari ST to record the footage from. The whole point of ChinnyVision is to show the original hardware. But thanks to Fat Bob GB from the Stairway to Hell and Amiibo forums, we now have a 520 STFM to use for our review. So thanks to Fat Bob for the Atari. And what better place to start than Stunt Car Racer? We're going to look at this on a few versions, not all, but starting off on the Atari ST. It was a game released in 1989 and programmed by Geoff Crammond, who had given us revs on the BBC Micro and would later give us Formula 1 Grand Prix on the Amiga ST and PC. Loading this up from floppy, enter your name, and you can see there's 4 divisions to compete in, and we're starting off in Division 4 against the Roadhog and Jumping Jack. Stunt Car Racer isn't a conventional racing game. You're racing on what you'll see to be raised platforms, not just a normal roadway. And there are stunts to compete. There's jumps, and you can see here that on the little ramp, there's a raised roadway and there's a ramp there that we have to jump. There's only one other racer to race against, and in fact you can do a head-to-head race with your friends. If you've got someone else with another ST or Amiga, you can use a null modem link via a serial port and link up and race against your friends. So it's a drop start and off we go. I'm going to hold back a little bit to see if I can get the opposing player just to overtake me, but there we go. So you can see him, he's essentially a slice of, or wedge of cheese with 4 blocks, but that doesn't matter, and look how fast and smooth this game is. Okay, it's not up to modern standards, but it's really fast. We've done the jump there and down we go. You hold down the fire button and it fires a turbo, so fire will come out of those exhausts at the front there. I'm just holding back again just so we can see the computer player. There's 3 laps to complete. And you can see here the physics are really good. I've just jumped over him there and just got in front of him. And there we bounce again. The cars bounce all over the place. And we're on the race section there and we're going around to complete lap 1. And now I've hit the turbo and I'm straight past. Faster you go, naturally the harder the car is to control, and the far harder it is to come off some of those corners. It's a careful trade-off between beating the other player and not going too fast, and we've just taken a little bit of damage here because it crack along the top, which shows the damage to your chassis, and that remains continuous throughout the race season until you get promoted to the next league. So it's vital not to crash, but also not to overcook some of the jumps you do, because if you come down here like here, and there you go, the crack increased very slightly there. So it's a constant payoff between trying to stay in front of the computer player but not going too fast, because it comes a point where you've got so much damage your turbo will stop working, and then you're in real trouble because the computer will always be faster than you. The use of the turbo at the right points of the game, and I've overcooked this here. I'm going to go down, yep, taking some more damage there, and the overuse of the turbo can result in you overcooking the jumps and taking on more damage. Here's the jump there, and over we go. You don't know where the computer player is behind you. There's no wing mirrors. There's no alternate camera views. It's just this view in front. 3 laps completed and I've won the race. That's good. That's a good start to the game. Didn't crash. If you fall off the circuit, well, you'll see what happens when you fall off the circuit. It's pretty much game over in terms of, depending on how much time you've got ahead of the computer player, whether you're going to get enough time to restart. So I've got 3 points there, I think, because I've got 2 points for winning and 1 point for best laps. That's good for the league result. And the aim is to win the league, and then you go into the next division where there are even harder tracks. So we should be on to the second race now. And this is the humpback. So no jumps in this, but we've got a big old humpback section in there to go over. And again, that's going to be a case of watching your speed. And actually, I lied about that damage being carried over. No, it's not. That's a false memory of mine. The damage is reset at the start of each race by the look of it. Although, I think if you get we'll see this in a minute. I think what it is there are some. If you get severe damage, there's holes that can appear in the chassis at the top right-hand side of the screen. And I think they are carried over to the end of the season. So the computer player's gone ahead here again, and just going to go around this corner. It's not hitting the turbo at the moment, and the physics are really good on this. And you can watch the computer player bounce around. And some of the later tracks that we'll see, there's the roadway deliberately bumps to the left and right, which throws your car around a bit, and you can watch that react, the computer car react to that. So there we go. You do begin to take it personally when you're playing Stunt Car Racer against this computer player. I said there wasn't a jump on this circuit, and it turns out there was. So now we're on Division 3, and this is a harder circuit. And this one's quite difficult because you can see there's 4 stepping stones to go over, and you've got to hit that right. And I remember playing this on the Amstrad years ago, and I could never do it. So we'll see how that goes. You always begin from a drop start. So you've got to be revved up and ready to go. The second there's no green light, as soon as those chains release, off you go. There we go. I'm just going to hold back on this one again because I want to see what the computer player's doing. There's an option to practice every raceway in this game, so you really do need to be familiar with these circuits. They can also be handy just to hang back to watch out what the computer is doing. So should these be the stepping stones? No, so they're going to be further around. And look at the physics there on the computer, just nose up in the air. Here they are. Right, how do you do this? Power, lots of power. Yep, no, and down again, and more power. Am I going to make it? Oh no, it's gone wrong. Oh no, oh, that's gone. Oh, I'm bouncing backwards now. That's got to be, that's going to be a wreck. I've now got a wreck. I've got 4 holes in the chassis and a massive crack. That's going to be race over. Yep, wreck. So I've not only crashed spectacularly, I've also come off the circuit. So that's game over there. Get a graphic there showing my state of my car. This is another one. This is the big ramp, so we've got the game's building up here. Another drop start. And away we go. I'm going to power it this time. Oh, you see, this is the uneven roadway I was talking about. And the faster you go, the more your car gets thrown about and the computer's ahead. The races do get better as you go through the divisions. The faster cars, better AI. Jump that. Am I going to go off the side? You've got to be very careful not to hit the side. Over again. And this is where the practice comes in. I haven't practiced this circuit. This is probably going to end badly. Here's the big ramp. I forwarded onto the drawbridge now. I'm doing this as a practice just so you can see it, because this one has a jump where it literally is a drawbridge. It goes up and down, and if you launched it at speed when it's up, think of Tower Bridge in London. When it's up, you're going to go very, very high, and when it's lower, you've got to get that power and trajectory right to jump the gap. So see how this goes. This is just a practice level here. And there we go. See it going down and going up again. No, I've probably done that quite badly because I've launched off quite early there. Am I going to come down? And am I going to come down? Oh, yeah, quite a bit of damage there. That's certainly one of the harder jumps in the game. So, at this stage, I should probably be showing the Amiga version of Stunt Car Racer. But, really, because I got the ST, I wanted to show this version instead and concentrate on this. It's a really good game for the ST. It is marginally faster than the Amiga version. And I would say, if you're playing any version of Stunt Car Racer, the ST version is the version to play. So I thought at this stage it'd also be good to have a look at some of the 8-bit versions. And we'll look at the Spectrum and the Commodore 64 versions, starting with the Commodore 64 because it's a highly acclaimed conversion. Nice drawing time there on the little ramp there. I think it's marginally faster than the ST actually. So we start off as we do on the ST. All the tracks are the same. The graphics are cut down, but the tracks aren't simplified. They appear to be the exact same tracks as the 16-bit versions. Sound in the game is very basic as it is on all the versions, to be honest. And off we go. And there's the computer player, same shape as the ST version, but more limited. Frame rate's not bad actually. You know, Commodore 64 3D games are often pretty slow, and this moves at a really decent rate. The one thing I do notice coming over from the ST version, more than the frame rate drop, the physics are slightly simplified, partly due to the frame rate drop, but also they just the car seems to react slightly differently. There's less twitching around and slightly less controllability. If you've only ever played the 8-bit versions, you're not going to notice it, but if you come straight over from the ST version, you're going to notice it. Also, reduced draw distance there. This stuff's pretty obvious, really. I perhaps should focus on the positives here, because this is a really good conversion. It plays really well. It's really good fun. It moves around really quickly. It's all the fun you get on the ST version. So I've just moved this on to track 2, and one nice thing about the 8-bit versions, or certainly the C64 and Spectrum version, as that car swerves around in front of me, is that you get the colour changes between the levels. Okay, you've got the simplified colour palette here, but it's quite nice. All the draw distance there is quite a problem actually, because you can't see where that corner's going. But what you get is a differentiation between all the circuits, whereas actually on the ST the colours are always the same. So it does feel a little bit samey, whereas on this version you get these different colours, and it's such a simple thing that actually gives you a real impression of this being a different circuit. Down we go, just trying to get past that computer player. So we'll just have a quick look at the drawbridge and how that's one of the Division 1 tracks, how that figures on the Commodore 64 version. We're back to this orange and blue palette. I'm just doing this as a practice. You've got to start on Division 4, you can't just jump in at Division 1, although you can practice any circuit any time. So around the corner we go, and let's see how this reacts, and it jumps into view. It's going down up and down faster than the ST version actually. Just try and judge this. Bouncing at the top there, am I going to make the jump? Oh, down we go. Reminds me of Mercenary when you're coming down from that height at the beginning of Mercenary when you're crashing your spaceship down. Yeah, that worked pretty well actually. Considering most people would have picked this up for $3.99 on budget, it was out on Kicks. This is a great value for money game. Surprising they didn't actually follow it up on the 8-bits or even the 16-bits. Over the Sinclair Spectrum there's two versions, 48K and a 128K version. Just going to enter my name here, running this on a Spectrum Plus 2. So we should have some 128K sound effects. Slightly narrow field of view here on the Spectrum. Frame rate seems about the same as Commodore 64. We can come and have a look at that in a minute. Sound is pretty similar to the ST, given the fact it's got the same sound chip. Everything's very monochrome, as you'd expect. Okay, I guess to avoid colour clashing. Let's compare the frame rates here. This is the Spectrum on the left, Commodore 64 on the right. Spectrum is slightly slower than the Commodore 64 version. Perhaps a few more frames in there. I'd say the Spectrum's got slightly better draw distance, actually, if we're looking at it. I don't know. It's very marginal. But for once, the Commodore 64 seems to have the edge on 3D performance over the Z80 base machine, which will come as a bit of a shock to Spectrum owners. The physics are very similar to the Commodore 64 version. Again, most of the stuff I've said about the Commodore 64 version applies to the Spectrum as we jump forward to the second track here. Colour change, again, just those narrower screen, and you can see the track is slightly narrower and the computer car is slightly narrower. Oh, he's pushed me off the circuit. Oh dear. Yeah, I was just overtaking the computer player then, he's pushed me off the circuit and I was plunging down into a sea of green. Interesting, when the track is green on the Spectrum version, your engine ahead of you still stays yellow. So now this is what I was talking about when you crash. I'm now so far behind the computer player, I've got no hope at all. And in fact, also what I was saying about the draw distance, about the Commodore 64 versus the Spectrum, I don't think there is any difference. I think the draw distance is about the same. This slightly slower frame rate doesn't really detract too much from the game as we forward onto one of the other tracks, and this is the drawbridge. Just see how this is on the Spectrum. Oh, that popped into view there, and he's going up and down like the Commodore 64 version, and we're going to jump it. Bit of power on here, come on, bit of turbo. Oh! Probably haven't got enough speed there. And the Spectrum version, also I've just noticed the speedo there goes 5, 8, 11, 14, 17, 20. I assume it means 170 miles an hour or kilometres per hour now, and not 17 miles an hour. I've not included in this review the Amstrad or Amiga versions, just so I could focus more on the Atari version without this video becoming too long. They're both perfectly playable. They're both slightly slower than their counterparts. The Amstrad version is slightly slower than the Spectrum. The Amiga version is slightly slower than the ST. Both games worth checking out. But focusing on the ST, the Commodore 64 and the Spectrum versions. Well, the ST version is the version of Stunt Car Racer to play above all of them. It's fast, it's smooth, unless you've got an accelerated Amiga or ST. The 520 STFM version, it's where it's at. It's a really, really fun game. It's brilliant. I've been playing it for so long since I've had the ST. It's been my number one game, just reacquainting myself with this absolutely wonderful game. It's brilliant. Commodore 64 owners, you've got a real treat here. It's far faster than the Commodore 64 has any right to be. You can wave this game in your face of your Spectrum owning friends, because for once you've got better 3D than the Spectrum version. The Spectrum version is perfectly playable. It's still a really good game for your Specky, but the Commodore 64 version edges it. Overall, the version to check out is the ST version. It's a real gem of a game for the Atari machine.